We're gonna do brain disease. It's brain poison time.
Sexism when we have no barriers today, so we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
We're about to talk about women's rights, and we're about to talk about women's wrongs, baby.
Should we mark this bad boy at all?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go.
Hi, welcome everybody.
Leave it to a 90% male chat to talk women's studies. First of all, this is a 24% female audience, so suck my cock, you dumbass. That's number one. Also, secondly, yeah. There are a lot of women who are not feminists. There are a lot of women who are misogynistic. Okay? There are a lot of women who are misogynistic.
I'm Liz Landers. I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? I saw your hand.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I would say it's uplifting all women, in which case.
This haircut in England would automatically cause me to assume that this is a TERF. In America, automatically intersectional feminist. Okay? Straight up.
It's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. There's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than some.
Pearl and this lady are both right-wing commentators, by the way. Like, this is their job. Once again, we have a situation where, you know, you have pitted people who do this professionally against people who are just like kind of chilling. I mean, sometimes they have professional media people on the liberal side too, but more often than not, you see this dynamic, and it exists in Fox News all the time when they'll go, this is a concerned parent, right? When they talk about like trans issues at schools or whatever. And the concerned parent, when you look at the concerned parent's background, you find out that they're like literally a Republican lobbyist, you know what I mean? For specifically like anti-trans issues. It's always like that.
Something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is.
5 of the 9 women there are conservative. That is the least surprising thing. There's 2 reasons for this. One, because conservatives are better content. Let's be fucking real for a moment, okay? Take a deep breath and admit certain things. Conservatives are fucking content. Okay? It's just the truth.
Is rooted in America and like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism.
Has a misogynistic woman ever been on the left? Yes, of course. Dude, these concepts transcend like left and right boundaries. Of course, dude. What are you talking about? There are misogynistic men on the left. There are misogynistic women on the left. Of course. Misogyny is a societal construct. Okay?
Yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African-American women. And it's always kind of done that. And also like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a black woman and being a black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl, actually.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though.
I mean, you could say that about race as well. It's usually to correct a historic wrong, you know? However, it's silly to look at that and go, and that's precisely why it's easier. I think the reason why she avoided talking about that from the perspective of race is because she understands as a media personality how fucking dumb and racist she would look. Oh my God, dude. Pearl is just saying her 3 talking points that work on her podcast. Yeah, I think they're going to eat her ass alive here. I think like, even though there are more conservative voices on this panel than there are, you know, progressive ones, I think that the progressive voices that you do have here, I assume will fucking, you know, eat her ass alive.
It seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Wait, no, she did not just say there's pretty privilege in what you're saying while talking to just pearly things. Listen, if there's one person who doesn't have pretty privilege, come on. Come on now. Come on now.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present.
Yeah, even Pearly was like, that's crazy. I didn't say it. She did. I should have just kept it rolling.
In a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
they call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
She still flipped it and cooked her. Oh.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because
privileges
we want
exist.
special treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women and because of sexism.
Well, yeah, but immediately we're like, that's because women suck. It's so good. It's so, dude, being a conservative is so fucking dope, dude. You could just be like the dumbest person on the planet and like you still get to have a say because like American media has this like weird notion of like respecting every idea. It's like no matter how idiotic it is, right? You just say anything and it's like people go, that's right, that's my lady right there.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Who doesn't have barriers? Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
No, that's awkward ass conversation, bro. Stop.
It ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well,
Things
as I
you don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about women. I'm not.
You're speaking
I'm not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an
able-bodied
able-bodied
white woman.
I
that is
understand.
white.
Represents white.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
Oh no. Oh, this panel is shot, dog. Oh no. Here we fucking go, baby. Woo, ooh wee, dude. Oh my Lord. Why is anyone allowing this woman to speak in public? I agree. Why is anyone allowing women to speak in public in general? You know what I'm saying? These are things that I think of when I watch content like this, okay? I'm just kidding. Ironic misogyny is still misogyny. I know.
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over body.
Well, where were you timing me? It took 6 minutes and 52 seconds.
Pay gap has been
The
disproven and
pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
That's so funny.
It's the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because
DJ Guttermain. Thank you for the subs.
women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple.
This is like always a hilarious fucking take to me because like women don't want to do the hardest industries and it's like half the time they're talking about like menial labor, right? They're talking about like fucking working at an oil rig or working at a construction yard and shit, right? It's like, motherfucker, it's not like those industries are paying the best either. You know what I mean? Like, that's so stupid. And the barrier of entry for a lot of those fucking industries, like, I'll use Twitch as an example. This is something that often gets overlooked a lot because people think that there's sexism on this platform, but in the other direction, people think that like it's much easier to make it as a female Twitch streamer, and yet for some fucking weird reason, in the top 10 most watched streamers on this platform, year over year, there is never a woman there. I wonder why. Well, part of that reason is because the platform is heavily slanted, and the consumers are men for the most part. Okay. But there are other reasons as to why there are less female streamers at the top, okay? And that is because there are barriers of entry as a woman to make it in this fucking space. It's just the truth. So that isn't to say that you can't make it as a woman in this industry. It's just that your ladder that you have to climb, the stairs you have to climb to get up there is going to be much harder. And when you are at the top, like for example, Pokimane is, you're going to have a lot more fucking haters despise you on the virtue that you are a woman. Like, that's it. The only way for a man to get roasted and toasted, to get shit on, and even then, not in a similar vein to like Pokimane, is if they're literally a out and about socialist, okay? And even then, it's nothing. Like my haters are nowhere near as bad as, you know, Pokemon's harassers and haters are. Okay? That's a barrier. That's a gigantic fucking barrier for people. It's one that makes it super hard to overcome. Anyway, Pearl purposely dumbs down our arguments or says something so absurd it's impossible to counter in a meaningful way. Like, how do you debate flat earthers who refuse to believe that NASA or something is a credible source of information? Exactly. And those barriers in very serious ways exist in pretty much every facet of society because society has been historically patriarchal and contemporarily it's still patriarchal, right? Patriarchal, sorry. I know people get mad at me for not pronouncing English words correctly, even though I'm fucking, you know, ESL and a native speaker in 2 different languages. Meanwhile, you can't even speak one.
I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
2 things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the U.S., have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask for it?
Why are they not asking?
Wait, what happens when women ask for raises?
Oh, that's funny, man. Women be shopping. Women don't be asking for raises. Boom. Over. Conversation done. Dude, this is why I say it's so fucking awesome to be a conservative. Like, you have such easy answers. It's like living life in a fucking fairy tale. You know what I mean? Which is ironic because conservatives always say, like, leftists want to live in a fairy tale. It's like, no, motherfucker. No. Progressives want certain things that they recognize they do not currently have. Okay? That makes their lives a living hell all the fucking time. Because if you're constantly like advocating for emancipation and you're constantly advocating for equality, equal representation, you know, not having your fucking civil liberties eroded all the goddamn time, and it still happens, like that's kind of shit. Whereas as a conservative, you can look at that and go, oh, it's because fucking they just didn't ask for it. Didn't ask for it. That's it. That's a fairy tale. You're just like lying to yourself.
Sorry, I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in.
It's so dumb. There are so many industries. By the way, again, this is why the male-female dichotomy is like such a silly one, because there are female-dominated industries where women notoriously and very publicly demand raises regularly and yet get their shit pushed in by even federal authorities at certain points. One of the examples I will use immediately is teachers, okay? Teachers unions have engaged in wildcat strikes. Teachers in Oklahoma still have an incredibly tough job and yet make like $30,000 a year. It's unacceptable. They literally have to work a second job, sometimes a third job on top of that for survival wages. Another industry dominated by women is nursing. Nurses are also doing horrifyingly gruesome fucking work. So hard. Unimaginably difficult. Like, suck my fucking cock if you think that, you know, oh, people only rugged men who work at the oil rig have a tough job. Yeah, dude, talk to me when you're fucking, you know, trying to hold down a dude who's like fucking foaming out of the mouth and like blood spurting out of their guts, okay? I would go so far as to say housekeeping is an incredibly difficult job within the hospitality industry as well. There are a lot of jobs that are dominated by women that get no attention from the media, that where women are very routinely, very regularly demanding higher pay and higher wages. Also, the argument that like this is a male-female dynamic is a silly one. Why is it a silly one? Because no matter what your background is, no matter what your ethnic background is, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your sexual orientation is, okay? No matter what your sector is, you are still a worker. You are still getting fucked over by your bosses. You still want to work the least amount of hours for the highest amount of pay. Your bosses, on the other hand, want you to work the most amount of hours for the least amount of pay that they can get away with. So these kinds of conversations, unironically, destroy class solidarity. And they are very successful at destroying class solidarity. It is deeply frustrating to see this on the boundaries of men and women when both men and women are getting fucked over under capitalism. It's very, very frustrating.
But, you know,
Goes
it's
through the
just,
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers.
Everyone rolls their eyes. Pearl has already established herself as like the annoying one on the fucking panel. Even the conservatives are like, ugh, Jesus Christ.
I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I
I'm
just feel like
not
your
a woman,
question is
right?
kind of hostile.
I hate this. I hate this. She's like using... Look. I don't know why it's so difficult. Like, this is what happens when you're talking to a person who does this professionally, okay? Because they know how to trip you up. This is what they do for a living. It doesn't make them more intelligent, and it certainly does not make them correct. It just, again, means that they are good at the format. It's like being the best test taker, okay? What she's doing in that regard is like, what are the boundaries that you have as a woman? This should be relatively simple to explain, especially as we're coming off the fucking heels of the abortion conversation. Women do not have bodily fucking autonomy in this country. How the fuck is no one bringing that up? But I do not fault them for not bringing that up, because when you're put on the spot like that, unless you are a media person, you're going to have a hard time coming up with the adequate counter to that, okay?
When you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have a privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing. And I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged.
I'm
not ignoring that.
Or like a basic level of what, the feminist movement.
There's an intersectionality to marginalization, just like there is an intersectionality to privilege. This is something that I've talked about many, many times over, especially on this broadcast. You can find videos of me back in like 2019, 2018, talking about privilege blind spots, as I like to call it. The intersectionality of privilege does not mean that marginalization still cannot exist. Okay, this is not the oppression Olympics in the way that Republicans like to claim it is. Okay, that's not how this works. Yes, as an American living in the imperial core, you are profoundly fortunate. You are much better off than, let's say, a woman living in Afghanistan, okay, Taliban-occupied Afghanistan. That doesn't change the reality that you as a woman within your own realm should get fucked over worse than the men, okay? I already ran the top of the hour ad break, by the way.
Is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men.
I ran it.
There are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to hire than a woman.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%?
That's equality.
50%.
Yeah,
So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of fairness because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women, this doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that you don't believe in.
I do.
For you to have a bunch of ramps in your life, it doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
She's using that as an example. She needs ramps, you don't. Women need things that you yourself are failing to recognize, like a leg up to right historic wrongs. That's it. Extra support. If historically society has fucked over women, stopped them from participating in the workplace, and women's freedom, sexual freedom, even now is like a relatively new phenomena, and even now is not like fully achieved. Okay? Or women's freedom in the workplace is now still not fully achieved. Then yeah, there are still plenty of barriers to work on. Women have only been allowed to work in a lot of industries for like, what, 60 years? It doesn't surprise me we don't see more mixed workplaces. I mean, bro, even something as simple as like periods, dude. Like, just society is not designed in a way where women were thought about, you know? It's just an afterthought for the most part. You just kind of have to deal with it on your own, no matter what happens. And we take a lot of shit for granted as men because men are the default, right? So we just assume that that is the normal situation, and that like women being in the workplace is actually an abomination. It's like it's not normal, and we're just like kind of allowing them to do playtime in the workforce. Like, that's crazy. You can only think that way if you already agree with patriarchal constructs that you would otherwise, promote as traditional constructs. The entire purpose of progressive intersectional feminism is about allowing people to have that choice, allowing women to have that choice.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
my
race.
question is,
You
for
guys
women,
can talk.
women
You can
versus
talk.
men. Like, what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like, so what barrier?
Why is
I
it
just
silly?
want to.
I mean, she's cooking them. She's a media person, and she's cooking them. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, the average Norman who's already inclined to agree with what she's saying, both men and women, by the way, because like we always forget women's role in upholding misogyny, or women's role in also, believing in misogynistic constructs as a consequence of this being like a very powerful method of social conditioning under patriarchy. People are going to look at this and go, she's cooking them. You disagree because you don't agree with her. If you're in this fucking chat, of course you're going to disagree with her, man. What the fuck? Obviously.
Question
It's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but I'm
It's
saying,
not a fair question.
How would you reply to her? I already did. The entire capitalist mode of production has historically been designed around men, male qualities, and men working in the workplace. The lack of adequate compensation for maternal leave. Okay, the fact that there's only maternal leave and not even paternal leave, like, that's fucking crazy. Okay, the the idea that like like the cycle, like period cycles are just like an afterthought. Okay, things that like women have to take care of that are never really addressed or never really thought about. The amount of prejudice that people in positions of power still have towards women not being able to adequately do the same fucking job or play the same roles that men play. And this is the exact same as black people not being hired in positions of power as well. NFL black coaches is a great example of this. If you have white team owners and if you have mostly white coaches, they're going to have mostly white assistant coaches. That's it. And then you're not elevating black people into those same positions of power. It's the same with women. You're not elevating women into positions of power because most of the people in positions of power so far have been men. You want managers to give women with periods time off work? No, that's not what I said. When you can just hire a man who doesn't have periods, Lamau. I'm saying that the way that we structured society, the way we design society is by keeping men in mind and never women in mind, okay? That's it. And of course, considering how relatively new a phenomena it is for women to be in the workplace, yes, there are plenty of issues that women have to overcome. Some of the simplest ones literally being the fact that like they are in every industry they go to, for the most part, they're in a heavily male dominated industry.
How is it not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just going to say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gotten to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal. Based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It's more times than not, it's not. So, and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not well adjusted in the society and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
I'm respecting wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. we have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is.
She's not necessarily wrong in the sense that, like, a lot of these people still have an incredibly atomized, incredibly individualized approach to any kind of structural critique. Okay? That is true. That is what's happening currently. The unfortunate reality is that it's coming from a conservative propagandist who, of course, as we all know, famously love using hyper-individual, hyper-specific examples when you try to talk about any sort of systemic issues. They'll be like, oh, there's no systemic racism, actually. It's all individuals. Oh, there's no systemic misogyny. It's just individuals being sexist. It's just, like I said, you are running into this issue because you are talking as normal women in the normal workforce. You are talking against women whose entire job is to undermine the feminist struggle. Okay?
Is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we.
A lot of people immediately write you off when you talk about equity, which is why I don't even talk about equity in the way that, like, I just don't think people understand what the fuck they're talking about when they say equity, okay? I think what you're supposed to say is, you're American. This is built on equality of opportunity, right? Because people will say, oh, it's equality of outcome. Equity is equality of outcome. Okay, fuck equity then. We have equality of opportunity, right? In theory, we want to achieve equality of opportunity. Where the fuck have we achieved equality of opportunity in this fucking country? We have never had adequate material conditions as a baseline for every single person. It's only people who are cowardly and afraid of those that do not look like them from participating in the same field and having the same amenities and the same basic needs met that actually shit on the current, or rather claim that the current conditions have equality of opportunity. We do not have that. That's not real. There is no equality of opportunity in this country. There never has been, and it seems like there never will be. So most people are basically looking for that. Unfortunately, however, because our solutions only revolve around, like, individually uplifting certain members of society, for example, okay, that we don't have adequate solutions to this problem. And the best thing that you can basically advocate for is Band-Aid solutions. Band-Aid solutions like affirmative action. Band-Aid solutions like, having a more, the expectation of having a more diverse field in your board of executives, okay? In your corporate board. Anyway. That's an issue.
We live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 women. Wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 women out of the... What? The majority are anti-choice? The majority are anti-choice.
Pro-life, though. But
Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life?
Bro, this is not statistically representative of the country, okay? This is insane. Throw this entire thing out. The majority on this panel is pro-life, like anti-choice. The majority of this panel is anti-choice. The overwhelming majority of Americans are pro-choice. The overwhelming majority of women are pro-choice. This panel, literally undermines one of the basic things that you could do. That is psychotic. Okay? That is so psychotic that it must be deliberate. How the fuck do you arrive at a panel? How the fuck do you arrive at a panel where the statistics are slanted in the exact opposite way of reality? If you cast a wide net and looked for women in general, okay? If you randomized your selection process, you would not be able to craft a panel like this. The likelihood of crafting a panel like this would be significantly lower than crafting a panel that is 5-4 slanted in the way where 5 women are pro-choice and 4 women are anti-choice. That is fucking crazy. Okay? Now, obviously, this is not supposed to be an adequate panel. It's not. It's not supposed to be reflective of the way women actually think in the real world. Okay? But it's still insane to me, and I think it is basically... It is grossly negligent at its best to put a panel like this together. And possibly deliberate at its worst. This is a sham of a panel, a sham of a debate, where you have conservative media personalities debating random women, okay, where the majority of the panelists are fucking anti-choice. That's crazy. Unless you are trying to soft serve this bullshit, belittle the progressive positions, and serve a predominantly male audience, there is no other purpose here.
Why do you identify as each?
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of a Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering...
Boom, immediately, just like an insane fucking depiction, the underlying premise that abortion is murder is literally just established as a truth now, as a fundamental truth. Bullshit. Okay? She, 1, established abortion being murder as a fundamental truth, and then 2, looked at a complete straw man, claiming that liberals are celebrating murder by beatboxing outside of Planned Parenthoods. A completely made up, nonsensical position. Okay? If anything, as we have seen, the real fucking weirdos are the psychopaths that stand outside of Planned Parenthoods to fucking bully 14-year-old rape victims. Okay? That is the real world, not the way that she is presenting it.
Children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated that people are...
Why do you get a voice as a man? Because this is a patriarchal society and my voice matters more. Is that an adequate way to fucking give you exactly the clippable moment that you're looking for? Is that what you wanted?
So proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stance.
And you said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen
I made
in
the
late-term
distinction.
pregnancy.
I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. That's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
A zygote.
a baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah, that's
Having
a right.
choice is
Right,
an equalizer.
just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms of
the
birth
policies
control.
that are pushed
41.
to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you.
Oh,
it
it's
is-
brainwash because you don't
I think-
agree with
no,
me, so
because
therefore
I've been
I'm brainwashed.
I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Ma'am,
I have lived under
I-
Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
guilt
interested
for
in
me.
human
No, I'm not interested in like
living.
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my
is.
religion, abortion is
Abortion being considered murder is a Christian fundamentalist position. It does not exist in Judaism. It does not exist in Islam. It is simply a product of a misunderstanding that some Christians have. A purposeful, deliberate misunderstanding that Christians have kept pushing for. Okay? It is entirely made up. Why? You have to get to the basics of that argument. You have to get to the root of that argument without taking that as an underlying premise that is just truth. It starts with where life begins. Okay? If you are a Christian, you have this answer for it, right? In modern Christianity, I guess, even though that itself is not, there is no consensus on the matter. Some Christians in positions of power believe that life begins at conception and therefore all matter of abortion is technically murder. Okay? But because we have moved so far beyond this conversation and its Christian roots that most people take it for fucking granted. Okay? Like even people on the left refuse to go back and say, why is abortion murder? Where does life begin? You have no idea where life begins. Okay? That's it. There is no secular argument against abortion. Yes, there isn't. And that's precisely why these fucking assholes, understanding that the society is becoming more and more secular, don't even talk about Christianity anymore. They just say life, they don't even say life begins at conception. They just basically have avoided speaking about that so that, you know, they don't have to address it ever.
is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed because, you know, it's very interesting how, like, fundamental America is. Like, fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with
like,
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific.
Yeah, oh no, it's basic scientific theories. Yeah, got it. Except there is no scientific answer for life. It's a philosophical conversation that you're having. That's it. You're not having a scientific conversation. You're having a conversation that is philosophic. Okay? That's it. And there is no consensus on what life actually is. What is life? What is a soul? Like these are questions that we have no answers for. Just because you think you have an answer because you're conditioned into believing the answer from the dogmas that you were taught in Christianity does not mean that there is an actual answer for it. And ultimately, your own personal perspective on the matter is completely irrelevant in this conversation. The reason why your own perspective is completely irrelevant in this conversation is because we do not adjudicate or write legislation on individual Christian thought, okay? That's fucking psychotic. You cannot undermine people's personal liberties and their own bodily autonomy because some fucking dickhead Christians decided we needed more babies so that there were more farmhands during the fucking Black Plague. Okay? That is insane. That's insane. That's where the roots of this conversation come from. The church deciding that we just need more farmhands, you know? We can't do this. That's where a lot of the homophobic arguments come from. That's where the anti-prostitution arguments come from. This is a great question. Did they even have abortions all the way back then? Of course they did. Because abortions ultimately are up to the individual who is carrying the fucking pregnancy to term. That's precisely why legislating abortions do not actually stop abortions from happening. When you legislate abortions, according to the Guttmacher Institute and many other fucking studies that have been conducted on this, universally do not prevent abortions from happening. It just makes it just turns abortions into back alley abortions where people take matters in their own fucking hands. And then there are additional complications that come with that. Infertility. Abortion has been around for as long as fucking, women have been giving birth to children. Legislating abortions do not stop abortions from happening. Okay? It just makes abortions unsafe. That's it. That's why Benny Franks himself wrote specific teas that women could fucking drink to conduct homemade abortions, to have to make their own concoctions so they could have fucking homemade abortions. This notion that abortion was not a point of conversation or that something that people actually thought about or discussed during the time that our founders were alive is a silly one.
Human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die, right? We're also talking about women in the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh, no, we don't do that. Listen, for whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education. It's the oppressive state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be forced to have these children who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able.
Finally. I mean, it's true. It's a major barrier.
To access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions and people in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are gonna get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're the misquote. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Why do you think that?
Wait, they're just going to let that hang? Wait, what? Yes, people in poverty get more abortions because there are more fucking people in poverty. What kind of fucking take is that, dude? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the 1% made up 90% of fucking abortions. What the fuck? There's no way she said that, right? Did I misunderstand this? Wait, what?
We're going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
incorrect. You're the misquote. There's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
She said what? Poor people have abortions at a lower rate than rich people? Is that what she said? Is that what she's saying? I'm not even understanding what the point she tried to make. Yes, more poor people have abortions than rich people. There are more poor people. If she's saying poor people have abortions at a lower rate, like per capita, okay, then you're just proving her point. Like you literally just proved her point. Yeah, rich people have historically and will always have access to abortions. So they will go out and be able to get abortions. It is completely irrelevant to the point being made unless you were just agreeing with her, which it seemed like the energy behind your sentiment was disagreement, but you agreed with her. What the fuck? Unless she's saying poverty is not a barrier. In which case, if poor people are having less abortions per capita than rich people, then you can't use that as an argument. Even if correlation is not causation, that is an argument that undermines the position that you're making. This is what I don't understand about these kinds of conversations. Conservatives are so fucking stupid that they literally make false arguments that unironically disprove their point. Even if it's like an anecdote, or even if it is actually a logical fallacy, it's not one that favors their point. It's one that fucking literally undermines their point. I'm supposed to be the one that says that, and you're supposed to go, well, actually, there are more poor people than there are rich people. What the fuck? This is so confusing. This actually does unironically break my point. When I see like conservatives engage in logical fallacies that undermine their position, I truly am confused. Like, I'm at a loss for words, because it's like you just made an argument. You said it in this like snarky way. And yeah, if people don't understand what you're actually saying, they're going to think you're right, I guess, if they agree with you, but you just literally cucked yourself.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structures set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Dude, that's crazy. Like, she's literally like, again, this is another argument that fucking undermines your point. You are claiming that childbirth is a punishment. That argument makes it seem like carrying a pregnancy to term is a punishment. Just because you agree, if someone gets to have sex because no one's fucking you, okay, so you don't have to worry about this, that doesn't mean that they deserve to be punished with like carrying a child in their fucking body and then rearing that child and taking care of that child. It's, again, like, this is an argument that leftists are supposed to be making here, which is just because someone has bodily autonomy and sexual liberation does not mean that they should be forcibly carrying pregnancies to term, is the argument that a leftist is supposed to be making on this fucking panel. But she's making it, and she's doing it in the most annoying way possible, and I don't understand it. Like, what the fuck? You can only agree with that perspective if you truly think that having a sexual act which leads to you being pregnant means it's something that you deserve the punishment for. I don't get it. You're not supposed to say that, dumbass. You're supposed to say, oh, pregnancy is a beautiful thing. You're bringing life. You're supposed to avoid that part. You're supposed to say, not that. Everything but that. You can't openly admit that carrying a pregnancy to term is a form of punishment, okay? Because then you're saying that punishment is apt. You're making a losing argument. Please, I hope someone responds here.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to, like, do whatever they want.
Dog, you're a woman. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god. I guess like being the most unfuckable woman on the planet all of a sudden offers you this unique perspective where you're just like, well, it's not my issue, you know what I mean? It's not a thing I have to fucking care about ever for the rest of my goddamn life. So, Fuck you, bitches, I guess. You know, that's what's going on here. Is that what's happening? Jesus Christ, dude. Listen. I can't believe I'm repeating this again. Because she made that point. It's like weird for me to repeat it. But what Pearly thing said there is not a point for the anti-choice crowd. It's a point for the pro-choice crowd. Okay? Allowing women to have bodily autonomy and not controlling what decisions they make about their own bodies is at the heart of this argument. Okay? What the fuck?
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your, like, steez?
To see this as shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
that
saying
empowering?
is, like, I feel...
No, it's not empowering to sleep around. But if someone wants to be able to sleep around, they should be able to sleep around. Like, that's it. You automatically are making the assumption that, like, when a woman sleeps around, that's somehow a bad thing. Okay? And that works, and it will work for the majority of the audience because we live under a patriarchal society. Okay? So everyone is already conditioned to agree with that take. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're relying on everyone else agreeing with you because of their social conditioning. And that's why conservatives can get away with saying the dumbest fucking things on the planet. They never have to make an argument for something. They can just point to what's going on right now and say things are good right now. Shut the fuck up if you say anything else. I'm losing my fucking mind. Why is it bad for women to be able to sleep around if they want to do so, as long as they're doing it consensually and in a safe manner? What is that? Why is that a problem? The empowerment doesn't come from women being able to sleep around. The empowerment comes from women being able to do whatever the fuck they want. If someone wants to sleep around, they should be able to do so, okay? This is incredibly stupid. You are denying women agency and autonomy while simultaneously claiming that it is not empowering to give them autonomy and agency. It is stupid. The entire conversation should be slanted around choice and letting women have it. The fact that we even have to have a conversation about whether women should have choice or not implies that we are still existing under certain boundaries that women have to confront or at least conform to. Like, that's it. No one is making this argument about men, okay? There is no legislation that's like, how do we punish men for fucking around? But there is legislation that basically you are admitting is punishing women for fucking around, even though that's not the case. That's it. That's a barrier. It's so stupid. Don't use the point about her being unfuckable. Asexual people are intersectional and want bodily autonomy for despite all the fact that we may not want sex. Oh my God. There isn't a moment that passes by in this fucking broadcast where ace people don't have to chirp in. Yes, dude, I know. Someone being unfuckable doesn't change the conversation. I'm just spicing it up a little bit so it's not a boring academic convo. Shut the fuck up, you woke scolding, joy killing leftists, okay? Oh my Lord, dude. Stop chirping! It's not for you. It is an aesthetic choice that I'm making. Maybe even a little misogynistic of a choice that I'm making. Specifically, because once again, if you're like fucking ace, aromantic, non-binary queer person who like literally did all of their gender studies in college, then I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to change the mind of the guy who already is like fucking super misogynistic, doesn't even recognize that they're misogynistic, that just thinks this is the normal thing. How many times do I gotta fucking say this? The only thing I repeat more is the top of the hour ad break, which comes at the top of every fucking hour. And if you no longer want to see those goddamn ads, all you need to do is subscribe, okay? For $5 or for free. That's the only other thing I repeat as much on this fucking broadcast. Holy shit. Are misogynistic code switching? No, I have also like underlying misogyny as well, okay? I do. Like, that's part of it. But that's also part of my broader appeal for normal people if we're going to make it like an actual adequate assessment. Devin Art, thank you for the 5. Get the subs. Allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Miss Melzy, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the fucking hour. Okay. I don't know. I think it's important to point out that Pearl's argument doesn't hold water because she can't even succeed under her logic. Where is her high value man? Just shows that it's all about winning the argument. Exactly. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, and in misogynistic terms, Just Pearly Things wants to uplift or reinforce a world where women are valued by their looks, which is a fleeting thing. It's already subjective, but like she wants to uphold these like rigorous, weird, Western-centric beauty standards, and she doesn't fit them. It's like the fucking bricked up turfs all over again. It's like Ben Shapiro trying to fucking talk about gender norms and how men should be beacons of masculinity and look a certain way. Meanwhile, he doesn't look that way. It's the never-ending debate of like, if women should be seen and not heard and barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, why the fuck am I listening to you? You know? Shut the fuck up. Go churn butter. BS and Carnage, thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
Like you do like take like the way you speak on women is very sort of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just want to this.
Maybe I should
and I
change my
wonder
term. Maybe
why
I should
you have
say-
so much like hatred towards women.
I don't hate women.
Where does that root in? It
I
sounds
don't hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman.
No, she does hate women. She hates women because, like, again, women were very mean to her, I think, growing up. That's it. It's the same. She is, like, not different than Andrew Tate in that regard. Nah, she definitely hates women. Listen, I'm a misogynist, okay? And guess what? Takes one to know one, you know? And as a misogynist, I can tell she's a misogynist, okay? She's one of us.
That doesn't mean you don't have
I could be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
her.
specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these beliefs?
Again, she's right, but if we are to look at this from the perspective of like how a Norman audience, not my audience, but a Norman audience is going to read this, they're going to say, "Oh, you're being unnecessarily contentious and whiny because she's making good points." That's how most people are going to think. If I looked at the comments, I'm sure that that would reflect that position.
Systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Bro, also, here, let's take that one step further, because she's using that as a indication of sexual promiscuity, which is fucking who cares, right? But like the majority of women that have abortions have already had a child. Like, it's not like they're anti-fucking carrying pregnancy is the term, dumbass. What the fuck? You're talking about women that have had children already. And there are so many reasons as to why someone chooses to terminate a pregnancy. The most common one being an unsafe pregnancy. Like, what the fuck? Why are you mad? You can't mention that. That goes against their argument. I wish, but like, see, these are the things that I've heard a million times over as a misogynist who wants more abortions to happen, because more abortions mean like less, female children being birthed. That's my reason for it. I have debated people who are anti-choice over and over again, so I've heard these talking points over and over again, and I know how to counter them. But if you're not a fucking media person, you're going to look at that and go, that's a fucking insane statistic to bring up, and not necessarily be able to adequately fire back quickly, okay?
Good for them. So what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of birth control, and they don't track the 60%.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Also, you literally said you don't even want birth control. Oh my God. Oh my God, dude. That is not the truth, okay? That is not the truth. Fuck. The idea that like women are going out and getting abortions because it's like, oh, fuck. Hold on. Let me take a breath. If women are using abortion as a form of birth control, okay, that indicates societal failure, which there is a little bit of truth to that, okay? That means that there is no sexual education in schools. That means that access to contraceptives are unfortunately also safeguarded, okay? That means that, like, these are women who did not want to carry a pregnancy to term, and this is their last resort, okay? Ultimately, though, if women are using abortion as a form of birth control, so what? 80%, well, 90% of abortions happen in the first trimester, okay? At that point, it's this big. It's a parasite that's this big. That's not a human, okay? That's nothing. It's a parasite in your body. And taking care of that in that regard, okay? Taking care of the parasite in your body in that regard, no matter how it offends your sensibilities, your Christian sensibilities, is a relatively simple process. No, not with a heartbeat. Shut the fuck up. That's not true. It's like a cancer cell. Shut the fuck up. You're wrong. Jesus Christ.
What kind of abortion? Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men, because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep.
Bro, what? Yo, this is a self-report. This is no different than when Andrew Tate talks about how women have boo-boos and cooties, dude. This is literally a self-report. You are talking about childbirth in the most negative way you possibly can, and then also writing for it. Like, imagine thinking about this beautiful thing that human beings are capable of, which is giving birth to a new life, a whole ass new life, and just talking about it like a way to punish women that have fucked people. That's crazy, dude. That is an insane fucking take. And it's one that literally people on the left side of that spectrum should be making, okay? Yes, it's literally government mandated torture if you think because you fucked as a woman, you now have to carry a pregnancy to term. That's torture. It's government mandated torture. The main difference here, of course, is consent. If you want to have a child, it's a beautiful thing. If you don't want to have a child and you are forced to carry a pregnancy to term, that's fucking torture. It's just odd to see these supposedly tradcath podcast ladies talking about it on those terms.
Sleep with whoever you feel like, great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary, but please let me finish my point.
Oh God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating a pregnancy, is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, you know, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, you know, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
No. The reason why people celebrate being able to have the freedom to make this medical procedure, as she correctly pointed out, is because of psychotic fucking losers like you. People are not like celebrating the act, okay? Oftentimes it's a traumatic one. People are celebrating the freedom because unfortunately, as it stands, you know, in this society that you supposedly said women have no fucking boundaries or nothing shackling them down, that's a fucking boundary that they have to live with. So when that boundary is lifted, okay, and they can make a medical decision between them and their fucking doctor, that's a point of celebration. That's crazy. It's crazy to undermine that point. That's it. They shouldn't be celebrating abortions, I guess, because in a normal society, this should not be even adjudicated. This should not be a point of contention. This should not be something that people are fucking deliberating on. Motherfuckers are celebrating rights. That's crazy too. Like, think about that. Classic conservative presenting a problem and then and using people's reaction to said problem, or using people's emancipation from that problem as a bad thing. You know what I mean? You're using the consequences of the world that you've designed and the way people react to it as another fucking point for your argument.
Idea, the sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is, I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because
like, the idea that like women are having abortions for fun is so insane, dude. It's just, again, a straw man. You made it up. It's not a real thing. You made it the fuck up. That's it. Not a thing. It's not. It's not a thing. Holy fuck.
they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like, you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be.
It's literally in a society, okay, where if like for some weird reason, access to insulin, okay, was legislated upon, and if you were a diabetic, you just couldn't get insulin, no matter what no matter what you did. And we already have a bit of that here in America, so this is going to be a non-American conversation. Or Americans try really hard to think of a society where, it is the norm to be able to get insulin when you're diabetic. Okay, because I know that's hard for you because it's paywalled here in America. But think if that was the norm and then they paywalled it, okay, and made it so that you just legally could not get access to insulin, motherfuckers would be celebrating insulin too when they finally were able to destroy that hurdle. That's it. That's it. That's how this works. People are celebrating the fact that they can get this medical procedure, not the medical procedure itself. But even if they were celebrating the fucking medical procedure itself, what's it to you? That's not a good enough reason to fucking stop people, okay?
Desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I definitely agree in that, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is.
It is.
I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are doing have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion, abortion access, reproductive health care.
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right? It is a barrier, right?
It's
If we
giving
wanna put it
more.
that
It's
way.
giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
But why would the state have
locally,
the ability
women
to tell me what to do?
Because it
Locally,
does
the
in
women
multitudes
have
of
that
different
power.
areas. If you take out the
I hate that people don't use the medical liberty argument more, because that like immediately takes the conversation away from like women, which is always a losing position in a misogynistic society. Because like, here's the reality, okay? It sucks to admit, but the reality is that we live in a misogynistic society, okay? We live in a patriarchal society. So that's the reason why I always try to use points like the one I just made about diabetes and insulin, right? That's the reason why when it comes to trans issues, you often hear me talk about like surgical procedures being gruesome, and it's simply a medical decision, right? Because the moment that you talk about it on like women's issues and women's rights and women's emancipation, a lot of people are going to go, fuck it. You're just chirping again. What a dumb broads talking again. And the pussy, gay, soy cucks are advocating for them. Because that's ultimately what it is. Ultimately, what this conversation is denying women access to a medical procedure. That's what this conversation is. Why? Because some fucking people decided it's bad for them to get it. That's it. That's it.
the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates. So
At no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body.
It's not about
me
respecting.
I have a question here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking about
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
Telling leftists to shower. I will forever maintain the position that anarchists should take a shower.
For me, reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle. And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward, these extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going.
There is strong consensus, though, that like abortion should not be undermined. Abortion rights should not be undermined. No one with a septum piercing should ever take a conservative position, is my take. You might say that that's wrong, but I think if you have a septum piercing and you take a conservative position, you're fucking deluded.
Going to have more of these difficult conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
Trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah. You can't have a... Yeah, because all women are athletes, dude. Shut the fuck up. Oh, God. No, what she's saying here is I want to come at this from a position where, like, the debate and the values that we're going to be debating on are at least, like, something that people are familiar with and have more adequate talking points for. Okay? That's it. But what the fuck do you mean? Sports is not the end-all, be-all of women's issues, okay? Women's rights. That is so fucking stupid. That's so dumb.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair.
Trans women should not be allowed into athletic spaces. Like, why does Pearl lie about playing semi-pro volleyball? I'm not hating, but she's recently been bringing up this point a fair bit. When she went to the UK to play semi-pro volleyball, when she didn't, she came over to study. She did an interview in 2020 when she went viral for some quizzes. And she told the reporter she was going over to study in Bournemouth, but she ended up in London doing psychology or something. She used to make TikTok and IG stories about it. So she didn't go for volleyball, but studying, and she's not on some scholarship. The team she plays for, Mallory Eagles, say they're an amateur team on their website. It looks like she plays in the highest league, but it's definitely not semi-pro, and she's not getting paid because they don't pay their athletes. I think the team is linked to her college because UEL, university, is East London, but they have their own volleyball team, not Mallory Eagles. And anyway, college sport isn't a big deal over there compared to the States. I don't know. Just seems weird to lie when it can be disproven. I think the trolls have gotten to her. Sad.
I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay. So again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space. Because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is...
Hold up, let her cook.
We can't compete. We can't. Like,
she said we're not as entertaining as the men. What the fuck? Dude, that's such a funny thing to say. It's just like, how are you going to sit there and be like, I don't hate women, and then just say some dumb shit like that? Again, why should I, as a man, a superior being, listen to you, a woman, an inferior being, if that is the world, if that is the dichotomy that you are presenting, if that is how you view the world, make this make sense. I don't understand it. Make this make sense.
I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's going to body me.
And what happens if I go up
True.
against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking
Liz is like, hold on. Let her be transphobic, please.
away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for. And you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Minnie.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand
make
why
me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her experience.
I hate this argument so much. Nobody gives a fuck, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the ladies who are going to fucking sit here and be like, no, everybody cares about women's sports. Like, no one cares. The only time motherfuckers care about women's sports is if they're like shitting on trans women. That's it. Women don't care about women's sports. Stop it. Stop playing with me. This is ridiculous. I hate this. That's what I hate about this argument the most, is that like conservatives have made it so that we have to act like we know things about women's sports, bro. I don't know anything. I don't know, and I don't care. I don't even care about male sports either. That's the difference. But like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
In a specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And
trans
I'd have to go.
misogyny.
No, she's
Yeah.
not. She's a woman who's had an
it's always the-
experience.
it's always the-
You guys are so
Pearl
obsessed with your
finish.
own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting there telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and this situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
Bone
me.
density, wrist strength.
Yeah.
Muscle density, you can't switch those.
That's so funny. Yeah, what are you saying, that you wouldn't be able to crush her? Like, what the fuck? Bro, Pearly could crush like cis men, okay? If she went up against Ben Shapiro, she would literally crush Ben Shapiro. Okay? There you go. Perfect example. What are you going to sit there and tower over this trans woman and be like, no, actually, you'd beat my ass because you're a trans woman? Like, really? That's what you're going to say here? We got eyes, motherfucker. Also, a lot of the things that like she's talking about definitely do go away with HRT, but it doesn't even matter. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if trans women have like benefits, okay? I don't care. Because no one is faking being trans to win athletic competitions, okay? No one is going to get owned by society over and over again and like become a woman, you know what I mean? Specifically so they can win a fucking varsity sports competition. You're out of your fucking mind, okay? That's insane. It's so stupid. No, they're trans. They're trans women. And they want to just be normal, okay? They want to be normal. They want to be recognized as like a normal human being. It's so stupid. The argument is so fucking dumb. No, you can't say people are crazy. I know people are crazy, but that's not an example of like, that's not why you legislate certain things, okay? Like in the off chance that someone might do that, okay, well then deal with it at an individual level. You know what I mean? That's wild. You know, murders still happen. Trans women who happen to be athletes and then transition shouldn't have to give up their passions because someone goes, your body isn't what I expected. Like, ultimately, the way I see it is like, first of all, you are becoming less athletic. There is not a singular fucking instance where someone has gone through gender confirmation and literally performed better than their past self. Okay? Pre-transition. That's not a real thing. Okay? So they're literally taking a fucking major L specifically to live their truth. Okay? It's so stupid. I guess trans men. But nobody even talks about trans men because nobody gives a shit. Because the conversation revolves around trans women participating in sports. He literally banned a biological woman from running because she had too much testosterone, of course. If someone trans was obviously superior, they would ban them. No, like, but the thing is, I don't care. The only way that you would care about this is if you think it's like somehow unnatural or indecent to be a trans woman. Okay? Like, it's hard to really tackle this issue at its root because, like, I don't see the potential advantages that like a trans woman has over a cis woman. Okay? I don't see that as like somehow unnatural or indecent. Does that make sense? Especially because I do not think that's an incredibly dumb take. Oh, well, give me a good one then. I want to hear from you. Give us a good one.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here, too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, I mean, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7.
She meant less lactic acid, not more. More lactic acid would be bad. Less lactic acid is what helped him feel less pain.
People participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies.
Ooh, that, by the way, she fucking cooked her. That was really good. Notice how when you have a really good take, they just fucking crumble under that pressure so quickly and resort to like ridiculous fucking counters.
7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
personal. A lot of us
personal.
live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over.
Yeah, look. Now she's the victim. Shut the fuck up, you fucking baby. You fucking bitch ass baby. You fucking crybaby. Me. We're being shouted over. It's like, what? You just got fucking owned and you had no counter. So then you have to turn around and be like, look at us. We're getting shouted. Like, dude, you've been fucking running. You've been running the gamut. Okay. You've been running train this entire fucking time alongside Pearly. And the moment that you get countered out the wazoo, you're like, yeah, it's so fucked up. Dumbass. Listen, if you can't take the heat, get the fuck out of the kitchen. Okay? Or in your case, go back to the kitchen, I guess, if that's the fucking world you want to live in. Shut the fuck up, though. That's crazy.
And talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's...
She just moved we are no longer having a conversation about trans athletes. Look how quickly she fucking ran away from that. Absolutely fucking cooked. Absolutely destroyed. Oh my God. Oh, finally. Thank God.
It's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down.
Bro, this is literally a debate. Shut the fuck up. Like you've been running the debate the entire time. You've been dominating the conversation the entire time. Shut the fuck up. Be a fucking normal person, be a goddamn adult, and respond adequately to the counters.
Too as well.
Okay, me, my fifis. I'm not allowed to have an opinion. It's like, shut up. Your opinion is fucking dumb. It's not only bigoted, it's not only fucking, like actively trying to undermine trans existence, okay? In contemporary society where trans people are already getting fucking owned nonstop. But then you get sad when you're called out for your bad takes and then you can't even, refute any of the evidence presented.
Hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports.
As a white woman, I should be able to speak at all fucking times. And no one should be able to say mean things about me, even when I'm being a fucking bigot, yeah? What the fuck? It's fucking unacceptable.
And I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of, that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances,
dude, who cares? Literally, these two fucking ladies can't speak adequately either, but they're just fucking running their mouths the entire time. God, I hate centrists so much. It's just like, oh, I can't talk about this. I have no perspective on this. Like, you're so dumb. Then shut the fuck up. Shut up then. Never mind.
The decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
By the way, the governing bodies already have no issue with trans athletes competing. So I guess technically she's pro-trans athletes competing because the governing bodies have created rules and restrictions around hormone levels and whatnot. But ultimately, trans people do compete. That's actually what really pisses off a lot of these psychotic transphobes is that, like, they get to compete and it's fucked up.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life.
She's right.
The right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they started to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books. This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. Leah Thomas is the only one.
One too many.
If
one too many?
She said one too many. That's psychotic, bro. Again, don't do this. Don't do this. I wouldn't be talking this much shit if the trans woman next to me is more gender conforming than myself as a cis woman to the unrealistic and weird expectations of gender expression that you yourself are upholding. Calm the fuck down, Pearl. What the fuck? Why are you doing this? It is so strange when you look the way you do. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wait, who trans here? Eli is. She's trans.
If women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, it's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation?
Yeah.
International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by a trans woman.
I want to move on to a different topic. I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of...
Someone said Pearl is an incredibly trans name. Low key, you are right. That is true. It's like right up there with Meredith and you know, Barbara and Agatha, Gertrude. Like that is an incredibly trans name. 100%. Mildred.
Feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post-Me Too?
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. Because I was like, we're in post-Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore. Like, we did it, guys. We solved the problem. We want that world. No, I think... Obviously, the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room. But Me Too, for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience for different people. In my culture and in my community, we're still working through that. There is no post-Me Too, right? We're still working through how do we have these tough conversations? How do we teach not just, you know, women, but everyone about consent? What does consent look like? What does that look like in our community? What does that not look like, right? All those things that I think it's still very complicated. But I think it starts at the level of community, right? Of like, how do we have these...
By the way, I want to go back to something really quickly and talk about the trans part of this conversation. Notice how Eli, who does this as a researcher, okay, was so easily able to just fucking boop, shut them the fuck up. Whereas all these other talking points, especially when it's not in their, when they're like normal women that aren't in fucking media, okay, were met with a barrage of weird talking points, like right-wing talking points that these people are fucking like very good at just like quickly disseminating. That was the only instance throughout this entire process where I saw the conservative shitheads, the two media conservative shitheads, shut the fuck up. And as soon as they got countered, they started fucking crying about being bullied. This is why I always say it's not for everybody. Like, these kinds of panels are really fucking annoying to conduct and put together when you put people who aren't like skilled orators or people who are just normal people against fucking conservative media people, okay? This isn't to say conservative media are smarter than the average person. They certainly are not. They just know what talking points to use. Okay? They know what talking points to use. And yes, if you go up against someone who knows the fuck they're talking about, they're going to shut you down real fucking quick. That's how it works. That's why I always say, like, you know, I'm not a debate lord. I don't like debates. Ultimately, everything that the conservative media demons said were wrong, right? But it doesn't even fucking matter. The average U.S. pundit is dumber than the average citizen of the global south. Sure, fine. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because, like, no matter how smart you are, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how much information you have, okay, you still can't overcome rhetoric, okay? The argument I make all the time is the same. Ben Shapiro could probably fucking make it seem like he won a debate against someone who was a climate scientist. If that climate scientist is like a little nervous, anxious, okay, not very skilled in a pressure situation, that's it. That doesn't mean that the climate scientist is wrong and Ben Shapiro is right. It just means that he can confidently make it seem like he's on the correct side of an argument. Okay?
These conversations around consent.
Sydney, I saw your hand up.
So when the Me Too thing was unfolding, I was initially like, great, I love the idea of women being able to speak out. What's been really disappointing, I suppose, for me, post-Me Too, as we're calling it, is that, and especially as someone who's sort of on the right wing of politics, I think that a lot of the experiences of women on the right get a bit trivialized because there is a lot of politicizing of sexual assault. So when something legitimately happens on our side of the table and someone tries to speak up about it, there's almost an automatic disbelief. And I understand why. It's because of the believe all women type of stuff that came out of the Me Too movement that a lot of us were like, wait a minute, no, people do use these situations for gain. People do make things up. People do lie. But it is sad to watch it happen. It makes me sad that we're here.
Jordan?
I feel like there'll never be a post-Me Too because at the heart of it, Me Too is just a phrase. The spirit of what Me Too represented will always be relevant, and that is that you are empowering individual women to advocate for themselves and speak out when they feel like they're being wrong. Ideally, you're just trying to be the most transparent and self-accountable person you can be, and you need to hit all of those fronts, if you want it to last on a cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed, which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So, you know, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege. And men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
As a Black woman, one of the most integral parts of the beauty conversation has been colorism. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, proud of it and proud of being myself. For the most part, I did not. Why am I going to cry about this? I did not grow up thinking I was beautiful because I was that. And I think in the Black space, we have these conversations, but I think I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I think feminists actually really should be part of the colorism topic, because colorism is not just shades within being Black, it's shades because the beauty standard is the closer to whiteness you are, the more beautiful you are. I think it's something that if more people in different shades, particularly white women, because of knowing that standard, and we work together on that, then we have a lot, I think, something we can unify on, but also something that we can make strides in right now that I'm just not seeing. And it's only, again, that's why people feel like you have to be a Black feminist, because it's a topic that only really Black feminists are talking about, because it deals with being Black.
How do beauty standards make you feel, Morris?
I mean, kind of what you're saying, Antonia, as a Black Latina woman in my community, right? Like, I grew up and I was ugly, right? Like, that's what I was considered. I was not considered beautiful. Of feeling ugly, but also being told I was, right, had a lot to do with what is believed in my community, right? Colorism is one of them. And so to say, I'm gonna redefine beauty for myself, and to say, I own myself and I get to decide what's beautiful, right? And I get to decide what I wanna wear and how I wanna wear it. And I don't need to, right? It's almost a repelling, right? Like, I'm like, no, you know what? I am beautiful. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and I'm gonna feel myself, because if no one else is gonna feel me, it's on me to feel me too.
I gotta say, though, I did grow up being referred to as very beautiful for a woman with a disability. And that, to me, always fed this idea that disability doesn't mean beautiful. I am in some form of exceptionalism, which I then had to keep up with forever. So it's like, I got this thought as I started to age, like, you can have no legs, but you better not fucking get fat. And so this idea that, like, there are certain people who are beautiful and certain people who aren't, and that inherently holds value is, I think, find it in yourself, yes. And
Jordan?
Beauty standards are toxic bullshit hierarchical nonsense. And I say that as someone who has spent over a year collectively of my life in eating disorder institutions, because I have tried to put my body through hellish things to meet these beauty standards, which more often than not are not based in reality. They're typically trends, they're created to push things, they're extremely useful for marketing, but they don't serve anyone's health, they don't serve anyone's self-esteem. They only act to try and tell us that there's a allegedly right way to have a body, and if you don't occupy that space and have that body, then you're a piece of shit, which is absolute nonsense. And there are way too many women, and
all of a sudden the centrist is an anarchist. To be fair, she also wasn't, though, on other issues that pertain to her existence in a weird way. You can almost see Pearl thinking of the most heinous response. What's she going to say, bro? I mean, come on. It would be wild for Pearl to talk about, like, fucking beauty standards being fucked up. I mean, beauty standards being good. Like, she can get away with being a pick-me girl, but I don't think she's going to be able to get away with that one. You know what I mean? Holy fuck, dude. Jesus Christ.
men in the world who end up doing terrible things to themselves because they fall into this trap of thinking that you have to be this way. And if you aren't this way, then there's something inherently wrong at your core, which is nonsense. You're perfect the way you are. That's literally the core of it. You are perfect the way you are. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise is feeding
she wants to chime in so bad, bro. Oh, God.
And is just, they're not
Come
your
on,
friend
cook
or
it up.
looking out for you.
Give it to us, Pearl. Pearl, give it to us.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative. But also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry.
Dude, not true. What? No. Bro, the closer you are to traditional beauty standards, the more unhinged you get when beauty standards are brought up. I swear to God. Literally, always. It's crazy, dude. It's wild. No, that's not true at all. What the fuck? Even symmetry is not like even remotely true. Have you seen A24 movies? Like, what the fuck? The more you look like an alien, the better play you get. He's like, beauty standards are all about symmetry. I've never been to Europe, so I have no idea. I sure hope it's not different over there. Okay? Have you seen a woman in Europe? A man in Europe? A24 actor Pepega. Also, it's so funny to say like health is what dominates beauty standards when you think about like what the expectations people had of like women's bodily standards in like the 90s, when it was literally like you have to be one sandwich, like one missed meal away from death to be considered sexy and have the perfect body. Okay? That shit was crazy. Like they literally were like, if you miss a sandwich appointment, you're fucking dead. That's hot. I'm so turned on right now. What the fuck?
Certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that like if women really cared about beauty
Back
standards,
in the day, beauty standards were literally like, if you are I want women to be so skinny that they can't have a period. That's when it's hot, okay? That's the best beauty standard. Classic health. Like, arguably, I would say that, like, a little bit thicker, becoming more normalized is unironically healthier than that, okay? Straight up, it's true. Many of you have no fucking clue, and you're thinking, oh my God, that's so, I can't believe he said that, huh? Whatever. But, like, that's true. If you're so skinny and starving that you literally can't even have a fucking period.
well, I just think that like
We're
All right, let's hear what she has to say, though. I'm excited.
Incredibly important.
I'm going to assume, okay, are you ready? She's going to say something about fat women because, like, I guess that's the only way that she can, like, tackle this conversation as you know, she does have Michael Phelps's stature. So I assume she's going to be like, yeah, fat women, you know, it's just like she's going to say something like anti-fat shit. She has to play to something, you know what I mean?
Well, I just think that like if women really cared about beauty standards, like the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the beauty standards. I just think like some people.
Oh, she fucking hit her with the, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean beauty standards, Pearl? Yo, she got her good, Dad. Yeah, what's up? Talk to us about fucking beauty standards, Pearl.
People are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, you know.
Oh, she's upset. She said, what do you mean? What about you with the beauty standards? Oh, no. See, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the issue. When you fucking argue as a woman for misogyny, if you dick ride misogyny, people are going to be misogynistic to you. Like, if you dick ride weird fucking beauty standards, especially if you do not, especially if said standards are changeable and you want to make it seem like it's not changeable, even though it has changed throughout time, and you fucking don't even fit in those goddamn standards, why the fuck are you making that argument? It's so dumb. It's so stupid. Here, I mean, I want to watch that again. Look at her face as she fucking delivers that line. It's so good. Woo.
If women really cared about beauty standards, like the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is.
But what
Let's
about
try
you?
to attain the
She said, but what about you? Yo! Yo! She cooked her, dude. Oh my God. They had to get a close-up of her face.
Beauty standards. I just think like some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's.
You see her soul get sucked out of her body when she got hit with the says you. Oh. Oh. That's so good. It's good to see. She folded. Yep, 100%.
Just, where would I rate myself 1 to 10? Like,
we're not rating. It's okay.
That's what I mean.
No. She said, you don't have to do that. We already know. Oh, she said, God don't like ugly. That's what she said. You don't have to twist it. You don't have to twist the knife. Oh my God.
I think like some people
So
are more
if you
attractive.
are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards.
Well,
is that right?
the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
Obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
I know, from my experience as well, is growing up, again, in a mostly white neighborhood but I was always comparing myself to literally other people who have a different body type, but I was considered other or to something because it didn't conform to that body type. When that same body type became popular
I think she literally lost the plot. Like, she got cooked so hard, she unironically had nothing left in the tank. Like, she was 1 HP, okay? She was 1 HP and it fried her. She was like, the beauty standards, if they were skinny, women would conform to them, right? Is the argument that if beauty standards were real, why would you choose to be ugly? Am I getting that right? I don't even know. I've lost the plot. I got so involved with that incredibly effective counter that kind of made this entire video worthwhile to watch.
Kim Kardashian, the Kardashians, who are different, right, than me, let's just say, are different skin color, right? And there's a lot of animosity, and a lot of, Black communities of the fact that when it was on Black skin, it was an issue, but when it was on Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, it was $1 billion business.
Yep. Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're going to try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much...
Yeah, she's like, we need to go back to a right-wing feminism, like, the abolitionist movement where Black women were left behind. Like, is that what you mean? Like, what is a right-wing feminism? Like, it's been cannibalized by left-wing movements? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my arsenal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is...
That was awful. What a fucking awful thing, dude. What an awful experience. Jesus fucking Christ. Just straight up, like, that gave me a headache, like a major headache. I covered that for 3 hours. We had a fucking pro-crime experience in between that.